The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ask for Candy, the official podcast for single women over 35. Who I am Candace Harper, love coach, coming to you live from the V Club. I teach and inspire audacious intimacy to powerful, professional, grown women who want real relationships from seductive singlehoods. And more importantly, I help single city women over 35 who have given up on love discover their passions and their purpose and stop getting ghosted. I see Lee just joined us. I see Elizabeth just joined us. What's up, people? Welcome. As you trickle in, I'm going to tell you where some people are coming from. I know some of you out there listening on your TuneIn app, you may be listening to Armed Radio and you can hear us live. Or maybe you're in the garden on armedradioglobal.com and you can hear us. I see Janine joined us. Hi, Janine. She says hello. And Joe, my love. And maybe you are on the Facebook, like some of the Facebook Live people that are trickling in, and you'll be talking to us during this conversation. If you are on Facebook, if you're a social media person, whether you're listening on audio or you're on Facebook right now, I want you to join the Creative Love Collective and Armed Radio Group News so you always know what we're doing. I see Emily joined. Our Emily, you know Emily who comes.
Yes.
She was here last week. Hi, Emily. And Lee sends us hearts. Hi, Lee. And also, you guys know that you can call in during the course of this conversation, 1-800-508-5431, and you can comment and question us and all of that good stuff and interact with the conversation. So like I said, I'm Candace Harper, love coach. My talent is conversation. My passion is personal growth. My purpose is to teach and inspire radical self-acceptance in myself and others so that we can all have our best possible love life. I'm live at the V Club, and I am with my friend Courtney.
Hi.
Who is the founder of the V Club and also a sex and relationship coach, right? Mm-hmm. Who teaches classes here, and she's just a wonderful woman. She's been very welcoming. We developed this partnership together and decided we were going to do this together,
Great friendship.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah. I love my Courtney. She's like one of my newest friends. It's awesome. So, and also tonight, it's just us.
It's just us.
We're going to have like, a much more, not a clinical conversation, but a much more like, maybe advicey. What would you call it?
Advicey and real.
Real, exactly.
Cut through all the BS.
We'll cut through all the BS, right?
No one else is around.
Right? It's just us. We can say whatever we want, like some good girl chat. And what we're going to do tonight is Quora questions, which I think is going to be a new thing that I want to do. So, I don't know if you've ever been on Quora. Have you been on Quora?
Yes. I think there are tremendously interesting questions.
Yes.
And we chatted about this right before the podcast. You don't really know where the person's coming from a lot of times, right? So you really have to answer and kind of guess really what the circumstances are. And that makes it interesting.
Right? It totally does. Yeah. And that's the thing. That's the whole setup of Quora. You just get the question clean. You don't know how old the person is. Mm-hmm. I feel like sometimes you can kind of surmise a little bit. But they don't tell you on Quora, like how old the person is, where they're from. You don't know, racial background or anything like that. As far as I know, I don't know if there's a way that you can look up their profile or whatever when they answer a question. But I think you can ask questions anonymously, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna and maybe I think I might start this as like a regular tradition, like once a month Quora questions.
See, I think the greatest thing about it, and I know that Quora actually sends out emails and you can pick the topics you're interested in. Mm. It's not even like a burning question on your mind, but you're still going to get sucked in and read the answer and learn something.
Right?
Yeah, it's really...
Because people have good information out there.
They're very real questions.
I think we should do it. I think it should be a once a month thing. Yeah. Whether we have, extra ladies or not. But tonight we're gonna handle it. So the goal of this show, the goal of tonight is to just have a fun conversation about the questions on Quora and also maybe cause some breakthroughs because you never know. Here's the thing about questions. I believe in parallel living. I believe that whatever we're going through at any given time, there's somebody else out there who's also going through it or dealing with it or, whatever, maybe something similar.
Oh, that's the power of a community, right?
Right.
This is, we're never alone, but we always feel alone, right?
Right.
Most of us are like, I'm the only person going through this breakup, through like having too much work, too many responsibilities. No one else in the world.
Right? No one else but me.
No, it's just me.
And what do they say? There's 8 million stories in the naked city. And we all feel like we're the only one going through whatever we're going through. Even it's so funny, like, because I came down on the train. Even when we're on the train, it's like that feeling of like, I'm the only one who's like sweaty and getting bumped into and like angry on this train. And the assumption that everybody else is, they're fine, but I'm the one who's.
That's right. You're the only one who's like, like bumping elbows. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So we want to get out of that space. Who else joined us? We got Angela, we got Melissa, we got Lloyd and Darren and Joni. Well, she's JoJo on Facebook. I'm telling your governments, Joni. And Tiffany, thank you guys for joining us. Stick around. We're about to do some Quora questions. Should we go ahead and get started?
Yes.
I'm trying to also mess around with this live tweeting thing. So I'm setting up live Twitter. So we'll see. This is going to be another outlet, people, that you can actually. Oh wait, we're going live on Twitter too. So if you wait, now I need to turn the camera around. Whatever. I'm going to be figuring this out while we ask questions. I'm going to be figuring out.
Today's episode is technology in progress.
Today's episode is all about technology.
Yes, we have 2 women trying to figure out technology. Okay.
So we have like a weird angle on the Twitter, but we're live on Twitter. Yeah, that's working. Mic is working.
Do you want to prop the phone with your water?
I'm going to prop it. Yes, that's a good idea. I'm propping the phone with. Oh, I think I just turned it up. Anyway, we're going to be doing the questions while I set this up and get it looking good and get it working. Oh, good. That's working. All right. So now, if you're on Twitter, you can be watching us live too. Hi, Twitter. Somebody just joined. CP, I don't know. You can't tell the names on Twitter.
No, Twitter's difficult.
So should we do the first question?
Now, my question is, do you think that this debate will be better, more exciting, or less exciting than last week?
I don't know, Courtney. I feel like I threw you off with the question. What was it last week? There was stories that were not around dating, and you were very upset by that. I was like, I offended Courtney because I said it was going to be dating. And I brought in relationship stories, and you were not having it. I love that.
I highly recommend for everyone to listen to last week's episode if you have not, because it got ridiculous.
Some of the stories were like really
so good.
We had a lot of poop conversation last week. I feel like
we had a lot of poop
was a big poop was the theme of it. It was supposed to be like Halloween horror stories, but poop entered in very much into the equation.
Yeah. It was fantastic. I thought it was a fantastic episode. Highly recommend.
Right? No, it's good. So, okay, what's our first question here? Okay, so here's a Quora question. We don't even know whether this is a man or a woman who wrote this. I think you can have a fulfilling life without sex and dating. What does this say about me? That's interesting, right?
It is interesting.
Yeah. Like the first thing that comes up for me in thinking about that. See, I'm somebody who has always been obsessed with the idea of love, like from very, very young. And, love as a romantic ideal, like, two people, no matter the gender, just two people that love each other and how romantic and wonderful that can be. I mean, even when I was in high school, I was obsessed with Harlequin romance novels. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for me to come from a space of like, I do think people can survive without sex and dating. Mm-hmm. Clearly you can. And I do think that there's cultures all over the world where people arrange marriages. So sex and dating is not something that even happens. And the sex is not until you get married.
Right. And even then, if it's an arranged marriage, the sex may never be amazing, right?
Right.
It might just be a chore.
It might never be like a free expression, right?
Right.
In that kind of situation. Mm-hmm. So obviously you can live a fulfilling life in the sense that, I always talk about getting purposeful, and the only way to really have a long-term connected relationship is by being purposeful, mm-hmm. self-accepted and self-loving. I believe you can live a fulfilling life if you become purposeful and self-accepted. However, I do think that a big component of a fulfilling life is having a witness to your life. Like having someone, and I'm coming from a space of, I always say I'm a coach on the court. I am not in a long-term committed relationship right now, but I do see the importance of having someone to witness, what my life is, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's a natural tendency, right? Because we're pack animals at the end of the day. Now, living without sex, sex is actually quite healthy.
Yeah.
So, but when the person says maybe living without sex, maybe there is hopefully there's at least masturbation, right? Because it's actually otherwise a bit unhealthy for your body not to have any sexual expression.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we had to place bets, do you think this is a man or a woman asking this question? Asking this question.
Well, you know what comes up for me right away, like what my intuition says? And I could be totally off because I'm obviously making it up. I'm thinking of like incels. Have you ever heard of incels?
No.
There's this whole like cultural contingency of men who are, the incel stands for involuntarily celibate.
Oh, yes.
And they're actually, some of their content online is so woman hating and it's so like just anti-intimacy, just anti any of that stuff. And so like my first instinct is there's someone who, and the reason that I go to incels is because my thinking, without having spoken to someone who's in that community, so I don't want to, cast any aspersions on anybody, but my thinking is when someone has that vehement of a reaction to something, or where they're feeling like they have to be without it, and it's sort of a basic human need, it's because there's been some hurt, there's been some pain.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and so, and I think, I'm not saying that women don't go there, but I do think that, as women, naturally our feminine energy is to be loving. Mm-hmm. So I'm tending towards assuming this is a man.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah.
I also think it's a man, probably. I don't know if I would necessarily read into this question that this person is like completely
full on radical,
radically celibate, but it is clearly, I do think it's somebody who has possibly had difficult experiences, right? And is sort of willing to swear it off and is wondering about this. I actually wonder if this is somebody young.
I do too.
Yeah,
because it's a young decision, right?
It's a young
Possibly.
decision. Yeah.
I also think too, it's like with sex and dating, it's so easy, especially when you're young, to make it mean so much that it can have you even questioning your very existence.
Oh, absolutely. What's interesting though is that I feel like it is people who can live without, who are self-fulfilled in themselves. Those are the people that have the easiest time actually finding a relationship, right? Because when you have all that self-worth, you become a much better partner. But I think this question speaks to something else,
right?
Yeah,
no, totally.
Wait,
we got to say hi to the new people that came in. I see Jen came in, and Zaria, my sweet little love, and Sue and Ez are here. Welcome, everybody.
Oh, hi, Zaria.
Courtney.
Yeah.
So now we're going to the next question, right? You want to read the next question?
Should I tell my girlfriend that I cheated on her?
Oh. Ooh. I've heard a lot of different schools of thought on this. Tell me what you think about like if you cheat on someone in a relationship and you can get away with it, or you've gotten away with it, is it worthwhile to tell the person, do you think?
Oh gosh, I feel like there's no clear answer.
Yeah.
And I know that because I think a huge part of me wants to say you always have to be honest, right? Because honesty is a beautiful policy. But I think that in real life, the truth is that's not always the best policy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to be mindful.
It's a hard one.
It's really hard one. It's a really hard one. I think it really depends on the circumstances.
Yeah.
It's also, a lot of people cheat, right? They say between 20 and 50% of people cheat. I think that depends on the study. So this is very real.
Yeah,
this is real.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
But it depends, I think.
Ooh,
I know. I'm like,
see, it's interesting because I read a couple for this question. I did read a couple of what some of the Quora people said. And there was this one interesting guy that responded to this question. And he was like, if you want to be completely selfish, you telling your girlfriend about you cheating is not about her. It's about you. You're just going to hurt her. And if you're planning to stay with her, why tell her something like that?
Yeah, because it's like you have to clear your conscience, right? Because living with a secret, especially when it's not, it's a negative secret that you're carrying, it's hard. It's hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it is very much a cleansing act for the cheater.
Yeah. And it's like, do you deserve a cleansing act? Well, here's the thing. Zaria says, depends on where they are with their communication. That's true.
Sure,
that's absolutely
of course.
true. See, my thinking with the whole cheating thing is that it's a symptom of something else. Now, we're not talking about polyamory, because if we're talking about consenting adults where everybody knows everybody's, if it's an open relationship and everybody knows what everybody's doing, that's not cheating, right? Cheating. But when you're in a committed relationship with somebody and then you're getting something on the side, like what are you dealing with that if you shared it with your partner, you could maybe have an even closer relationship?
Interesting.
You know,
part of it is also a bit cultural though, right?
Yeah.
So in Europe, for example, having something on the side is quite accepted. In some countries. But I don't necessarily think that people there openly do it. It's just almost like it happens.
Yeah.
It's, don't ask, don't tell.
Like you wouldn't flash your mistress in front of your wife, but your wife knows.
Maybe, she may know, she may suspect.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends. This is a tough one.
Yeah.
I think in America, even though there's a lot of cheating, we don't have a mistrust culture.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I mean, there's not that sort of unwritten, you get a pass.
Right. but you see more and more people going for polygamy, polyamory. Hopefully not polygamy, that's illegal. Polyamory. Oh, Jesus Christ. Polyamory, right? And in open relationships, you do see a lot more people going for that. And maybe that is the right choice for people.
Yeah.
For a lot of people.
If that's your thing.
Yeah.
Well,
what people say is that the ability to be faithful, committed to a single partner or not, actually is biological. There's some neurotransmitters in the brain that if you have more of them, there's one particular one, vasopressin. If you have more of it, if your receptors are more sensitive, then you're more likely to be able to commit to a single partner.
Really?
Mm-hmm. It's quite a biological thing, yeah.
I didn't know that. Wait, I think that I might have that. You said if you have the vasoreceptors, you're more likely to commit.
If they're more everybody has them, but if you're more sensitive to it, yes.
You're more of a committer.
Yeah, they've shown that in rats.
Really?
Yeah.
They tested it? And like the little rats are I keep wanting to read Emily's comment, but
it's some sort of a rodent.
Like the little rat.
Yeah, it's some sort of a rodent.
So Emily says, honesty is always worth it, and the person has the right to know what or who he or she is investing their time in. You have the right to know if your partner has been cheating, according to me. The thought of investing my time and effort in a person that is cheating is so scary for me. I get that, Emily.
Oh, it's beyond scary, right? Cheating is probably one of the biggest betrayal in a relationship, unless you do come from a culture where it's a mistress culture.
Yeah. And I think too, as women, we're so conditioned to mate for life, whether it's something that we naturally feel or not. That we are taught in this culture that, if someone cheats on you, it's the ultimate betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Although I think once again, I'm with you. I'm the same as you in that I must have a good amount of vasopressin. But I do think there's a lot of women also that want open relationships. I mean, it's definitely a biological thing.
Yeah, like what you feel. So, but the thing too, Emily, that I would say, I mean, I totally get it, but I think it's really important as women that we not live in the fear of it, because I do believe that what you fear, you manifest. And if we feel like it's this scary, horrible thing, when in fact, with a lot of relationships, a cheating incident is something that can transform a relationship and even your life in a way that you never expected. Like every thing that we consider to be wrong is not always a horrible thing. Sometimes, like I was saying earlier, if there's a cheating incident, and this is not to encourage anybody to cheat, but if there's a cheating incident, it might be an opportunity for more intimacy and closeness. Like what is really going on? Like if I can, and this is going to sound crazy, if I can not take it personally long enough to hear where you're at and hear your position and why you chose to do this thing and really hear where you're coming from as a human being, not as someone that I own, then there's sort of an avenue to us being able to actually have a cleansing, maybe even a healing conversation that would make our relationship even more intimate and loving.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
It's really the ups and downs in a relationship. If you can get through the downs, make the ups stronger.
Right?
Absolutely. But having said that, it's not ideal.
It's not ideal. No one, we're not encouraging anybody to go cheat to fix their relationship.
No, but I also think that, and this is something that, especially when you talk to people who are older, people who are in their 60s, 70s, 80s, you actually hear them say that things are much less black and white. I think when we're younger, things are naturally much more black and white. So if cheating is not your thing, then you're just like, this is the most horrible thing in the world. So we get older, but we develop tolerance. Yeah. Even for
totally. And it's not the end of the world.
So it's a tough one, but it's not ideal.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I like that question. That's okay. Wait, what did Zaria say? Ooh, Candace, you hit that on the nail. Thank you, honey. My little sweetheart. All right. What do you do when you've become disenchanted with love? After several heartbreaks, is it natural to want to give up on relationships? How do I shake this feeling so I don't end up alone? Ugh, honey, that one resonates with me.
Yeah, very much.
In such a big way.
Yes, it is 100% natural to want to give up on
Right.
things. Yeah, because I think that breakups and failed relationships hurt so much.
Absolutely.
I mean, very few things can hurt you as much as when, the vulnerability you feel when you open your heart to someone and then it fails.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
And so I think that getting disenchanted and wanting to give up is very normal. Having said that, it is really an option of, a choice of, do you do that or do you continue to try?
Yeah.
And that's
right. Do you make the choice to stay in the game?
Yeah. And ideally you do, right? Because otherwise you give up on life a bit, right? That's a huge part of life.
Yeah.
You don't want to give up on.
Also, I think, just like with the cheating thing we were talking about earlier, I mean, for me, having had failed relationships, it's like at some point I had to make the choice between having those failed relationships be some sort of history that indicated who I was in a relationship, or actually be some sort of source for lessons and a source for seeing who I was and how I was showing up and how I could be different in a future relationship. So in as much as I totally get that feeling of wanting to just give up, I always say close up the candy shop. Right? Because it
Love
fits.
it. Yes.
And as many times as I've been in that space where it's like, no, and even I feel like I'm a little bit in that space right now where I'm not actively, really out there trying to make a relationship happen we were just talking about that earlier. I do think that when you're willing to let the failed relationships be your teacher and not your marks of failure, the alone times, it gives you a space to grow and something to grow from, right? He says, to not end up alone, I spent time alone. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It was important to heal and be comfortable with me before I tried again. And Janine says, but then that takes you back to that first question as well. How do you work past the hurt and move on to better things?
I mean, I think one of the things in life, and this is hard to do, we have to recommit to this every day, is to view life as a journey and it's a learning experience, right? And sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. Hopefully we learn from our experiences and do better next time. Yeah. And eventually we do get what we want. And even if that fails, we do it again. Because what are the other options? But it's a hard, it's like on daily basis. And when something breaks up, a relationship breaks up, it's, it takes a little while to think through it that way.
Process it.
Yeah. And then think about it on the positive side. It's just tough.
I think something else you touched on too is you keep going and it's purely your belief. As long as you believe you will have it, even when you don't, even in the darkest of moments, it's our choice, our decision to believe and have a context of this will happen for me, as opposed to a belief that it won't happen.
Well, that's the law of attraction.
Right? Yeah.
That's totally, mindfulness.
Totally.
It's just attracting things. But it is hard. Yeah. It is hard. Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. You got to hang in there. You got to have a community. You got to have people that you talk to, and just, when you do have those alone times, do your best to make it into something. Everything is worthy if you make it so, right?
Totally. And realistically, I think that there's no such thing as really giving up on relationships. For most of us, I think that even if we stop dating, we're going to keep thinking about it. Right? I want it. So you might as well just... Yeah.
Right? Doing what you got to do.
Exactly. So, yeah. Right. And we went there.
We have to.
Yes.
Lee says, it's good to ask yourself what you learned from the relationship that you can apply to relationships in the future.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But realistically, it's just very difficult for people just to completely give up. You do see people do that, but usually that happens when people are older. Yeah, right. It tends to be I would say 50 plus. You see more people that are just I'm done.
They let the cobwebs grow.
But then a lot of times, especially with men, you actually see self-destructiveness. You start hanging out with the boys. There's a lot of drinking. More. Yeah, women, no, not so much. We're quite good at taking care of ourselves. Yeah. But I don't think it's. I think until then, you just sort of have to keep going.
That's funny that you say that, because I scarily have gotten more fastidious as a single woman. I'm all about taking care of myself. Do you know what I mean? And
I think women are like that.
Right?
We're quite good at that.
As opposed to going down a spiral of drinking and, I really want to work out more and make sure to put away my laundry and... I'm like an old lady. It's terrible.
That is not old lady.
I'm an old auntie. Oh, thank you, honey.
Are you an auntie?
I am. I'm an auntie many times over. And by the way, my nephew Patrick, happy birthday today, my boo-boo. I don't know if you're watching this. I love you very much. He's in his early 20s. He flies helicopters. He's gorgeous.
How cool.
I love you. And you know Aunt Candy loves you more than fat kids love cake. So what's our next question? We're running out of time. I can't believe how fast this goes by.
Okay, let's see. What should I do during a cuddle with my girlfriend?
What? I like that question. Okay. You don't like that question?
I'm confused by that question.
I have a feeling that's a young person, whether man or woman. It's a young person.
I hope so.
Yeah, but actually, I think women know what to do, so I'm assuming it's probably a man.
I hope it's a young person.
When a woman has a girlfriend, they usually know what to do.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, I think Janine says, enjoy the moment. Yes, honey. Absolutely. That's what you should do is enjoy the moment.
I wasn't sure, but is he talking technically? What is cuddling?
I know, right? Well, that's the thing about Cora. We get to make it up. So
yeah. Well,
there was a guy who answered on the actual site who got really explicit and technical about the sex moves he should make. But typically he went straight to sex moves. So what he said was
cuddling is.
That's not what cuddling is. Cuddling is to me an opportunity for intimacy, which is not necessarily sexual intimacy. It's heart to heart closeness, right?
Yeah, well, it can be just physical cuddling.
Yeah.
But I thought cuddling is specifically not sex.
I agree.
Otherwise, it would be, what do I do during sex?
Right?
That would be a good question.
That we could rip off. Well, that's what the guy did who answered him. He he's kiss her behind her ear and whisper something dirty and then lick her neck. He gave him a step by step. He's yeah, he even said stick your fingers in her vagina. He took it and then if she's not aroused, then you suck or whatever he said to the guy. This is Cora.
Jesus Christ.
But this is the reason that I chose that question though, because I feel like that's what people a lot of times will go straight to. And I think you're right. Cuddling is not necessarily about the sex. So what should you do is first of all, ask yourself, why that kind of physical closeness is something you feel like you need rules for.
Right.
Or that there's some right or wrong.
This is a boy, right? What should I do during a cuddle with my girlfriend? So let's just say it's a boy. Mm-hmm. So maybe he's young and he's not, he's just learning about girls. Well, girls like to feel warmth. They like to feel like they're cared for.
Yeah.
So maybe a hand around you, just make her feel protected.
Yeah, I like that.
That's ultimately what women want to do when they cuddle.
Right, no matter what the age.
Yeah.
It's the warm thing is a big thing.
It's the warm and fuzzy.
Right?
We want to feel warm and fuzzy.
It's fall. It's fall right now. It's cold outside. You have some warm and yeah.
But even in the summer.
Yeah. Well, if the AC's on, if it's hot, I don't have those. If I'm hot, I don't want to cuddle. If I'm hot,
wow.
Right. Sorry, it says men do use cuddling as a gateway to drug to sex.
Yes.
That's true.
That's very true, but we're just going to presume that that's not what the question is about.
Janine says non-sexual touch is just as important to help with security in a relationship. I agree with
that's
that
intimacy,
too.
right?
Yeah.
We talked to people at the B Club. We've had women who say that their husbands only want to touch them when it's for sex, and it's not a good relationship.
Yeah, I was in that kind of relationship.
They're not happy. Oh, really?
Oh my gosh, it was so frustrating. I was every time you kiss me, it's sometimes we could just be kissing and maybe building up to something that's later. But every time there was any sort of, it was only for sex. And if I was physical, it was I don't want to have sex right now. Well, that isn't what I was trying to get from you. I was just trying to, if I initiated the physical context, it was oh, well, I got to go to work. I can't have sex right now. I'm I wasn't initiating it for sex, but that was his, frame of thought. So he assumed that that's what I was doing too.
Did you ever have a conversation?
I did, but that's why that relationship didn't work out, because we didn't have a good, every now and then we could communicate and have things land. But one thing that really didn't work with us, and I take responsibility that my delivery wasn't probably always the most productive delivery, but it would bounce off.
Really?
The conversation about, I wish that we would have more physical intimacy that didn't have to mean that we were having sex. Mm-hmm. What, you don't want to have sex? It's no, I'm not saying that I don't want to have sex. It's that I don't want there to be an expectation that every time we come in contact that we're going to have sex. Mm-hmm. That's always the goal.
This is so interesting. This reminds me of something. So I was telling Candy just a little while ago. There's this woman who is just a brilliant woman. She is kind of, I call her like my life advisor. She's just absolutely the greatest person in the world, I think. And she was with her husband for 25 years. He's unfortunately ill right now. And the dating part was really difficult for her, right? Because he was just absolutely horrible. And so he physically did not want to be next to her. Like, she chased him to the point where she was like, okay, why don't you stand next to me for a minute today?
Wow.
And then, maybe in a couple of days, you stand next to me for 2 minutes. I mean, this is literally, these are the types of exercises that she went through with him. Yeah. And then got him to marry her, and they lived happily for 25 years. So that actually made me think of that. Like, I wonder if you could have done that, like been like, you know what, let's just practice cuddling for a minute. I mean, I know it sounds crazy. And I mean, to her too, she was like, this is crazy, but she MacGyvered it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I love that you used that term, MacGyvered it.
I mean, you have to have a lot of patience, and I'm not saying that's the right thing, but it's something.
I don't think what you're saying is crazy. I actually do think that there's possibility in that.
But it's a little insane though, right?
Well, I mean, it takes like, here's the thing. Here's what my visceral response is, which means that maybe there is something in there for me. I always feel like if something, feels to me like, ooh, then what is it trying to tell me? What is it trying to teach me? And I think that what that is that, like I was telling you earlier about the ease thing. Like,
yes, I
have this story in my mind that it just needs to be easy. And it hasn't always been. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the reason I became a love coach is because of love challenges that I've had, right? Mm-hmm. And so I don't think that you're wrong about that exercise. I do think you're right. It would take a high level of patience. And I think for me, now, how old was she when she was doing this?
She was, I want to say late 50s, mid-50s.
Mid-50s. Wow.
Mid-50s, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, so I'm mid-40s, and I feel like my patience level is, I mean, that's not completely true. I can be very emotionally patient, but when it comes to like actually having to, I don't know, have someone change their thoughts about me or see me in a certain way, I feel like if they don't see me easily.
Mm-hmm. So I'm with you. Jamie just joined.
Jamie. Hi, Jamie. She says, hello, ladies. Hi, honey bunny.
She's from the V Club. Hi, we miss you today.
Right? Next Monday. Yes. Shula's going to be on. You got to be here.
Oh, wonderful.
Right?
So I'm actually with you, Candace. I also think that, I also would like for somebody to just be completely easy and open with me and just like fall into my arms. But there is something to the fact that that's not how it always works in life. Yeah. And I kind of wonder why you and I are that way. And maybe because, and I've thought about this, I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. There's something almost like disrespectful, like when you have to chase someone to that point, like stand next to me for a minute or like cuddle with me and not just try to like use me for, for sex every time. It's disrespectful to us. Yeah. So this woman does not see it as being disrespectful. She's just more like looking at the end goal. Like, I want this man.
She's like, I'm getting this man. I'm going to do what I got to do.
Yeah. But ultimately he was good to her, right? So it's not like she was.
Do you know if he was good to her at the beginning, even of the, like once they got married and everything like that, like, do you know if it, like what, I guess the question is, because it's hard to know really what goes on, between two people, right? Sure. But what did she say was sort of the like, was there a moment where he was like, oh, I'm totally in love? Or was it like a long transition to where by the time they got married, he got it and then he was on board? Like,
it's a good question. I don't know. I know that all through the dating process, that it was this kind of nonsense. Yeah. It was just really like these exercises.
I can't even imagine getting past the first week.
I know. She's really amazing. Yeah, and she's such a go-getter. Yeah. But she's really, because, her point was, okay, when she hugged him, she was like, I feel good. Okay. This feels good to me. So I want to get him.
So maybe, you know what, maybe there was a part of him that actually was just resisting his own feelings. Because I think that's very different than if you're trying to get somebody who doesn't have the feelings. Maybe he did have feelings for her that he was in resistance of. And so what she was looking past was his own. I mean, I don't think there's any like rule for how you can do that.
I don't know, because the thing is, she clearly said to me, He wanted somebody younger than him. She's older than him. He wanted somebody very wealthy. She didn't have any money. Like, she basically didn't not fit the criteria at all.
Any of his list.
Nothing. There was nothing on the list. Yeah. But she wanted him. She hugged him, and she was like, she's very spiritual. Yeah. In a sense of, like, she feels things. Okay. And she went with it. She's like,
Well, I totally believe in that. Like, I think that we definitely can create whatever we envision, And, without knowing her entire story, like, I would never say to someone, don't do that. Like, if that's what your gut and your intuition is calling you to do, to, like, really, I do also believe in inspired action and what the universe tells you, what your womb space tells you, your gut. And maybe her gut was just like, that is your man.
Yeah.
And,
I guess it really is about, like, what feels right to you. Right? There's no right or wrong. And maybe we should not always perceive things as being like, well, that's insulting, just take me as it is. Yeah. But it has to feel right. I mean, she's also, she's her, and she ended up having a happy marriage, but you don't know how it's going to turn out. Yeah. But it's interesting. I love that side of the story. Right. No one talks about that.
No one talks about that. Yeah. Women as pursuer.
Yeah.
Well, I do think it definitely speaks to just, following your gut about things, because something must have told her inside, like, don't give up on this one.
Yeah.
Right?
But oh my God, the stuff she went through, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. But the marriage was happy. Although she did say he was always a nag and he never wanted to do anything. So she always had to come up with the idea and then he'd be on board.
As long as he's not, here's the thing, as long as someone's not mean to you or abusive towards you, I feel like, the door can always be open. Emily says, wow, I imagine her persistence and ability to not take it personally. Absolutely. I mean, that's totally what it was.
She has this brilliant ability to just, like, see the end goal.
Yeah.
And not just take it personally. And for her, she always talks about how it's like life is real. Like, it's not about keeping it real. It's like, what do I want?
Yeah. Like, be in it. Just be in it.
Yeah. But definitely there was no abuse. That I know for a fact.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Next question.
We went deep there.
Is this another cuddling question?
Oh, no.
Wait, this is from a woman. She says, how do I get from a cuddling buddy and kind of girlfriend into full girlfriend status? That's so funny, because that's right in alignment with what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Which what we were just talking about, and as much as I think that it's valid what you were explaining, it goes totally against what I would normally tell a woman who wants to level up her relationship.
It kind of depends on, right? But it kind of depends on the circumstances, right? Like, if you sleep with someone too early for that circumstance, whatever that is, it could be a little bit difficult to convert into a serious relationship. So that's one thing. Or maybe, do you need to pursue him harder? It's a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
In a specific way.
I mean, as a woman who in my 20s was in a long-term relationship where I got to a point, I was just telling Courtney earlier, where I got very, very proactive about wanting to level up and, move it to the next. And, in hindsight, thank God I was unsuccessful, because that would not have been the life for me. He was studying to become a doctor, and, he's very successful doctor, and that's great. Most women are like, oh, you made me a doctor. But my life, I would have had to convert to Islam.
Do that again?
You made me the doctor. I would have had to convert to Islam. I would have had to fit into his family structure, which was very staunch. His mother had a lot of rules for how he lived. He was very connected with his mother. And you guys who watch this show or listen to this show, I'm not living in anybody's structured rules. Yeah. So it worked out that it was good that I wasn't able to level up that relationship. And I think it's very important to first ask yourself, before you level up a relationship, what it is you're looking to have happen. And is it something that you feel like is going to fill you up? Because if it's that, go ahead and fill yourself up. Mm-hmm. And don't worry about what's going to happen next in that relationship. If it's that, you feel like you're trying to fit into some tradition, like for me, it was, that's what people do in my family. They get married and they stay married. And that's what my older sister did. And I felt like that's what I needed to make happen. And thank God, I was unsuccessful, because in hindsight, that would not have worked for me.
You would have lost a lot of the candy spirit.
Right? Yeah, totally. I'd be drinking doctor's wife. I probably would have, all kinds of work done, trying to, fit into some mold that I just didn't fit in.
Right.
But here's the thing about it. It's always, when we desire something, it's always good to be willing to ask ourselves what we desire it for, and, whether it's something that we are thinking is going to somehow make us whole rather than making ourselves whole. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because I think that relationships generally have a natural trajectory. Like if you're present and you're on board and you're having fun and you're enjoying yourself, there's no reason to rush to get married. There's no reason to rush it to the next level or to make sure you hit milestones. There's no rules around that. Your relationship can go at any pace you want it to
Absolutely.
go. Right?
Maybe sometimes you doing exercises like stand next to me for a minute. You know,
right?
It just depends.
I mean, she was thought like she had a goal in mind, but yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's a very individual thing.
Yeah. No, totally. What does Lee say? Lee is saying, to move forward, it is so important to know if he wants to move past cuddle buddy status. That's, right. I mean, that's true too.
Because that's very real, right? Casual relationships are very real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes it's like you just have somebody that you're doing this with until you do find your love.
Am I wrong in thinking that, and you can tell me what you think, Courtney, you tell me what you think, Lee, and whoever else wants to chime in, that, you know, my thinking is always, and I know there's always exceptions to the rule, that men, like, they do what they want when they want. Like, I think with women, we think about things, we process things, we you know, think about our choice, we make decisions. And I'm not saying men don't make decisions, but when it comes to relationships, I feel like when a man is committed and wants to be there, you never have to have the hard conversation. You never have to question what he's about or what it is he wants. I feel like men show up exactly how they, you know, they based on what they want. Like when they want somebody who's just a fuck buddy, that's how they show up. Or they want somebody who is their girlfriend, that's how they show up.
Yes, but
like
at
they're
the
very
same
simple
time,
in that way.
So true, but at the same time, they naturally have resistance, right? Men are
resistance to commitment.
Resistance to commitment, right? Gotcha. So somebody can even show up as a boyfriend and sort of hang out there for a while, and then maybe be a bit iffy about it for a while.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that you have to kind of break through that. So I think it's true, but I think there's a road.
There's a road to take.
Yeah, there's a road. You know, it's a
the
path.
road is long.
Yeah.
I'm so like, I don't know if it's an age thing. I get what you're saying, and I think you're right. But I'm like, every time I think about the road with somebody and trying to figure it all out, I'm like, ugh.
It's not smooth. The thing is, I feel like it's the men that want to take a very quick road. It's usually not the guys you'll want to date. They're not gonna seem masculine.
Yeah.
They may just like hang on every word and like worship. You know, like
I love that stuff.
No, I know, I do too. But you know, in that weird way, like they'll seem like, I hate to say it, losers. You know, they won't be like attractive to you. I think that's Yeah. I mean, there's something to like masculine nature that for most women is very attractive, and those people tend to be at least somewhat commitment phobe.
Really? You think so?
No, well, I didn't mean that in a way that like they don't want a commitment period, but it's not like
they're not so easy to get them.
Yeah, to because as women we're like 1, 2, 3
I'm out being
dates.
a man.
Yeah, but you know, like as women, it's like 3 dates. Let's get married. Right?
Yeah,
like, that's how it is.
Yeah, we like to.
Yeah, we like to rush things.
Bring the commitment. Hi, Brandon. Brandon sends emojis, and Emily says some men yes, but not everyone. I think she should just ask him and be brave enough to be vulnerable. Okay, Emily, go ahead, girl.
At some point, you have to have a conversation, right?
Absolutely. There's nothing wrong with
definitely, and hopefully he gives you the honest answer.
I also think that with vulnerability, I mean, the key is to just talk about your feelings and don't attach it to that person. Because the moment you attach it to someone, whether they're a man or a woman, it's like that instant, okay, you're pressuring me, you want something from me. But if you're just saying, I'm sharing who I am and who I am as someone who's a committed girl and I want to be in a committed relationship, that's what I want to have for myself. It doesn't have to be you, but, you know, are you on board with that sort of thing?
Yeah. And the thing is, if he's not, you might want to be prepared to walk away.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because,
totally.
And that actually can make someone change their mind.
Totally.
Yeah.
That's true too.
But don't continue cuddling, thinking that that may eventually become a relationship. But that, I think it's just not, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I agree.
You have one card to play there. You can just have a conversation and walk away if it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And see what the response is.
I like that.
These are heavy topics.
Right? I love it. You want to do the next one?
Can we do this one?
Can we do this one? We can do that one.
Oh my God.
That's a good one.
Oh, my girlfriend is getting fat.
I love it.
We've been in a relationship for 5 years. Should I tell her to lower down her weight? Okay, so this is actually serious. I know we're laughing, but this is a serious thing, right? Because a lot of times in long-term relationships, one spouse or one partner gains weight, something changes about their appearance, and the other partner is like, hey, listen, buddy, like I want you to, to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
How do you broach that topic?
See, here's the thing too. Like we mentioned it a couple times earlier about the taking of things personally. So, I've been in a relationship before. I'm someone who's gained, lost my whole life. So I've been in a relationship before where I've gained weight, and the person was very communicative about the fact that I gained weight and what they felt about it. I think that it's a slippery slope because it is such a hot button. Yeah. Nobody wants to be shamed for what their body looks like. And it usually will cut off the desire for physical touch and intimacy. Like if you want your woman to be like sexual and open, the last thing you should do is be shaming her body.
Right.
However, I do think that there is room for a loving conversation around if someone's appearance changes for whatever reason, right? Mm-hmm. There's room for having that conversation with love and understanding and like, baby, I get it. Like, are you stressed? I notice you might be putting on a little bit of weight and I love you no matter what, but is there something that I can help you with? Like what's going on? If your intention is to be like, you're a fat bitch now and I'm not attracted to you anymore, then that's
that's not a good one.
That's not good.
Yeah, and maybe go to the gym together. Maybe it's something that you can tweak the lifestyle where the person naturally starts to lose weight, right, and shape up because you're eating better together, you're going to the gym together, versus just being like, get your fat ass to the gym,
right?
That's terrible. But it is a sensitive topic, and I can see it from both sides, right? As the person who would gain weight, like you could definitely hurt your feelings if somebody points it out. But for some people also, looks, visual, especially for men, right? Mm-hmm. Visual is very, very important. Yeah. So if their partner gains weight, they may also be like, whoa, that's just like, I'm really struggling with the intimacy. So you kind of have to see it from both sides, but it's a sensitive conversation.
It is. And I agree. Like you want to see it from both sides. You want to definitely, I believe in unconditional love. I believe that it's possible. I believe that in as much as men are visual, and I totally agree with you, Courtney, like that a change like that can sometimes throw them off emotionally. They don't know what to do with it, especially because it is such a sensitive hot button. But I do think it's worthwhile to get, and I'm taking this to a whole nother level. Like when you're very like soul connected and self-accepted, it doesn't mean that changes won't happen in your body and you won't have times where you're maybe not as healthy as you would normally be. Mm-hmm. But it's really important that we allow our bodies to go through different things, whether it's weight gain or sickness or whatever, without our own story of shame, because when we have our own story of shame around it, anything anybody else says is going to trigger that shame.
Yes.
So if from the point of view of being the woman in the relationship, like I've gained weight, and the times that I was feeling shameful about it, because maybe it was, emotional eating or whatever, it like you couldn't say anything to me. I'd strangle you if you mentioned that I gained weight. But the times when it was just, I know I've been lazy or I haven't worked out in a long time, because I've been busy at work or whatever those reasons might have been, it's like I didn't lay a shame story on top of it.
Right.
So it's really important as your body goes through changes, and it does, and it will. Some of us are great about lifelong working out and, maybe only gain a few pounds here or there. Some of us are like serial dieters, but it's really important to always be in a space of like self-forgiveness and not shaming yourself, because that way other people can't trigger you.
Oh, that's so important.
Right?
Absolutely. It's so important. And, I'm only assuming in this question that the girlfriend's not gaining weight because she's ill. Right. I'm thinking they've been in a relationship for 5 years.
They've been going to McDonald's.
Right. It's a girlfriend. It's a girlfriend. So let's just assume maybe they're younger. Yeah. So they're probably not at the point where it's like, life or death. They're not getting older yet where you're sort of expecting your partner to change.
Yeah.
To change.
Like you got to change this.
Yeah. So.
Well, he says, what did he say? 5 years. He said,
5 years. Yeah.
Ooh, it's fun stuff. What's Lee say? What's the reason for the weight gain? Yeah, that's a good question. He says the answer to that gives direction to the conversation. Absolutely. But Lee, because it's Quora, we can make it up. I don't know if you've ever been on Quora, but the people who answer, they just fill in the rest of the holes and say whatever they want to say.
This is the fun of this. We're just speculating.
Exactly.
It's fantastic.
We're making up stories about people.
Ooh, the next one is amazing.
Ooh. Okay, what are sure signs that your spouse has cheated on you? Ooh. What do you think?
Oh my goodness. I don't know if it's a sure sign, but it's a very, very, very good sign. So if your partner or spouse, where you're at the point where they don't want to touch you, like you haven't had sex in a while, you've not been intimate, and they really don't want to touch you, that's a sign that's a good sign they probably left the relationship. Odds are they're cheating on you.
Yeah. Oof.
But it's got to, go on for a little while. It's not like we got in a fight and they don't want to touch me for a week.
Yeah.
It's a tough, like we talk about this.
One.
Yeah, we talk about this in one of our classes at the V Club. That's a really tough situation. Actually, Jamie teaches here. We had this conversation. She didn't like adding that into the class curriculum because we were afraid of almost like triggering people if that's what they're going through. Yeah. But unfortunately, it is a situation it doesn't mean you can come back from it. You could definitely seek therapy. You can talk to us, but that's a big sign when somebody really just doesn't want to touch you.
Yeah. Like there's just a little level of like repelling.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I would definitely say so. I also am just such a believer in our, especially female intuition. And I mean, I think you're right, Courtney. I think there are certain signs that people give off as far as like how they interact with you that can really indicate things like that. And that's one of them. But I also think that we are such spiritual beings that when someone is in a space of betrayal, it's like whether we want to admit it or not, there's a feeling that happens. There's something that shifts within you, and you may or may not have proof of it, but just the fact that you might be asking this question, it's like, I feel like something's not right. And whether it's just emotional cheating or physical cheating or whatever, I feel like if you're on Quora asking, what are sure signs that your spouse has cheated on you? Your gut is telling you something, and you're looking for some sort of real evidence. Lee says, Courtney is right. Also locking the phone, hiding calls. Yeah, definitely. Sure. Like those are definitely actions that, they show signs in reality. But I'm such a believer in like, trust your gut first. And certain signs might show up. And if they're not triggering your gut, then maybe they're not anything, or, it's no big deal. But if signs are showing up that are triggering you asking this question or having you even wonder, that's like,
Well, there are a lot of life philosophies, right, that talk about how if we're mindful and if we're really connected with the universe, then the gut feel, then we can always follow the gut feel. Yeah. It's sort of things channel through us. Yeah. But it's very difficult, right? You have to completely disconnect your mind and just go with the heart and the gut feel. Body. Yeah. Very difficult because we think about everything, right? Yeah. We're always thinking and overthinking.
No, it's true. Yeah. It's true, but very important by the same token. Like, as much as and we're not necessarily taught to do it either. It's like, you got to find ways to really, that's why I always go back to purpose and self-acceptance and how important that is, because it's how we learn to listen to ourselves, right? And being in a space of like, when I say self-love, I don't mean narcissistic self-love. I don't mean like you're looking in the mirror every day. No, of course not. You know what I'm saying? So when you're in a space of like, I have healed, I heal my wounds, I forgive myself, I take care of myself, your body, whether it has to do with food, relationships, career, your interactions with people, your body will tell you everything. Like your body is so intuitive and so knowing. And Courtney's right. It can be a challenge to get to that space of not being in your head and, being in your heart and being in your body in that way. But this is why it's worth it to go on that kind of journey, a journey, they call it the journey of self-discovery, the journey of self-love, is because in situations like this, it's like your answers are within you. All of our answers are within us. Yeah. All these people who are on Quora and stuff like that, it's like we're looking for it externally. We're hoping somebody can come and, be the Holy Grail and like have it. All of our answers are inside of us. I
love what you just said. It's so true. Yeah. It's so difficult, though, to feel that way.
It is. It is.
We are our own worst enemies.
Yeah. All right. We're running out of time, and I want to make sure that we get to, we have a bunch of other core questions, which is why I think it's going to be good for this to be a once a month thing that we do regularly. And it'll be fun when we have our Jamie back, too, because I know she'll join in and want to pitch in. But I want to also make sure that for those of you who are in the tri-state area, you know what's coming here at the V Club. I have another workshop coming up. Courtney, I know you have something coming up. I saw there was something on the calendar that you're doing.
That's you.
Huh? That's me?
Yeah, that's you. We're doing you. So at the V Club, we do have classes running regularly. These are classes for women. They're classes about sex and relationships and truly transformational.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So the one I'm doing, you guys know I do Peace, Purpose, and Partnership, which is my signature program. I'm doing it on November 15th. If you are in the tri-state area and you are a woman, and don't worry, guys, at some point I'm going to be doing like a sort of little over half day when we're going to pick a date or whatever, where men are also invited, and it's going to be mixed company workshop.
I look forward to that.
That'll be fun, right? Courtney took my last Peace, Purpose, and Partnership.
Yes, it was fantastic.
You had a good time?
I had a really good time.
Yeah, we do like very interactive sort of exercises, and you get a chance to like experience this personal growth stuff that we're always talking about on some level, right? Obviously, you can't really experience it until you're applying it to your life. But within my workshop, you actually get to experience with another person, someone new that you've met, so they don't have all sorts of judgments about who you are or anything like that, where you get to actually, just perform these exercises and have some breakthroughs. So here's some questions to ask yourself as far as whether you're right for Peace, Purpose, and Partnership. Do you toggle back and forth between hardcore dating and ignoring your love life altogether?
That speaks to the question that we had in court.
Right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Been there. Have you tried it all, called in the one, followed the rules, waited 90 days, become a master sexter, all for what seems like nothing but more struggle with non-committers?
What is waiting 90 days?
Waiting 90 days is from Steve Harvey's book, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man. He says you're supposed to wait 90 days to have sex.
Oh, okay. Oh,
it's the 90-day rule.
Does that happen these days?
Right? But apparently he says that's if you want somebody to marry you, wait the 90 days. And sometimes I guess it works. Yeah, I don't know about the methods to have someone marry you.
Yeah, you don't hear that very often.
Right?
Okay.
And then do you often console yourself because you think you'll never find the right partner? So if you find yourself in that space of like, it's never going to happen for me. I'm like the one Cora questioner was like, am I going to die alone? Ooh, we're running out of time. Are you sick of the get a man to be happy narrative because you had a man and you weren't happy? Have you decided over and over just to focus on your career while in the back of your mind hoping that it'll show up because you're not looking? I'm going to put the link in the comments on Facebook Live, and I'll find other places to put them for those of you who are on audio out in the Armed Radio world. Armed Radio is about to sign off. Thank you so much, Courtney, for being here at the V Club, your place.
Thank you very much.
Being on the
Check
show.
us out at thevclub.com.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And also, if you're in town, you can come to the Monday happy hour. If you're a lady and you want to hang out and network and talk to us and have a great conversation. So the people in Armed Radio, until next time, never forget you're a love machine. If you ever start to feel like you aren't getting the love you need, just make more and ask for candy. And don't forget to vote tomorrow in the New York area and where else? In Florida and Georgia, in a whole bunch of states.
A whole bunch of places.
Tomorrow is voting day, midterm elections. Emily says hugs and kisses. Bye, my love. Lisa, it's hard to separate the gut from the emotions. I know, honey. We're going to do a whole show about that.
Yeah.
Anyway. Bye, Armed Radio. So Armed Radio is gone. Facebook Live people, thank you so much, everybody who showed up and interacted with us and came into the conversation. Thank you, Courtney. Oh, honey.
We always have such a good time.
Courtney's my love. Anyway, all right, you guys. We'll see you next week. Have a great week, and don't be afraid to reach out and say hi, and I'll leave you that link. Love you.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Bye, Lee.
Candy, I call my sugar.